Hello and welcome back to another Parry This history video. Today we are continuing our series covering the real-life history of Kingdom Come Deliverance II with a biography of Otto III of Bergow, one of the primary supporting characters in the game, and a very important historical figure in the region, in his own right. So, as always, since I'm covering real-life history, which the game is based on, anything I say in this video may contain story spoilers for the game, so watch with caution. But with that out of the way, let's dive on in and learn about Otto III of Bergow. Otto III of Bergow, German Otto der Alter von Bergow, Czech Otto III Starzyce Bergova, belonged to a noble family of Thuringian Meissen descent that had established itself in the northern and western regions of Bohemia, which is the modern-day Czech Republic, by the late Middle Ages. The Bergow lineage had ties not only within the Bohemian nobility, but also into Thuringia and Saxony, reflecting the trans-regional character of the Bohemian aristocracy in the 14th century. Otto III was the son of Albrecht of Bergow, who, according to certain records, held notable offices and estates during the reign of the Luxembourg dynasty in Bohemia. Albrecht apparently served as a sub-chamberlain under Sigismund of Luxembourg at some point, highlighting the family's early integration into the royal administration. Otto's birth date is not precisely recorded, but he was active in the 1370s, suggesting he was likely born sometime before that decade. Upon his father's death, Otto III inherited several key holdings, including the castles of Bila and Novi Seeberg in northern Bohemia. The Bergow family's ancestral estates were clustered in this region, and Otto's early years would have been spent overseeing these properties and managing their agricultural and feudal revenues. Novi Seeberg was sold relatively early as of 1383 and did not remain in Otto's long-term possession. Bila Castle, on the other hand, served as one of his principal residences until the end of the 14th century. Otto III's ascent into high politics began under the reign of King Wenceslaus IV of Bohemia, a member of the Luxembourg dynasty who ruled a kingdom characterized by intricate noble factions and frequent internal strife. By 1388, Otto had attained one of the most prestigious offices in the Bohemian kingdom, that of the highest burgrave of Prague, otherwise known as the Supremus Burgravius Pragensis. The highest burgrave was nominally the highest provincial official beneath the monarch and served as a chief representative of royal authority. Otto held this office from 1388 until 1393. In addition to this high-status appointment, Otto III presided over the provincial court, or the Landgericht, from 1388 to 1400, thus participating in the adjudication of noble disputes and contributing to the legal and territorial order of the realm. His involvement in the day-to-day governance of Bohemia placed him at the center of the kingdom's shifting political alliances. The 1390s marked the apex of Otto's political career and the beginning of his growing estrangement from King Wenceslaus IV. The Bohemian kingdom was riven by conflicts between the king and powerful nobles. In 1394, Otto III joined the Panska Jednota, or the League of Lords, a coalition of high-ranking nobility that opposed Wenceslaus's policies and sought to limit royal authority. Otto's decision to side against the king is telling. As highest burgrave, he wielded the authority of the royal land contingent, which he could leverage for or against the crown. Later, in 1396, despite earlier opposition, Otto became a member of the king's royal council. This period illustrates the complex and fluid political landscape. Noblemen often negotiated loyalties and offices, depending on the short-term political climate. Yet, even as a council member, Otto maintained a stance critical of the king's governance, and tensions persisted. Otto III's involvement in the League of Lords was critical during the crisis years of Wenceslaus IV's reign. In 1394, factions within the League orchestrated the king's temporary arrest and imprisonment. Otto, holding the powerful office of highest burgrave, played a notable role in these dramatic events. A particular episode, mentioned in contemporary accounts, suggests that Otto, under the pretext of a punitive expedition, led a contingent that allegedly provoked Wenceslaus, aiding in the sequence of events that led to the king's seizure by the noble coalition. In the later 1390s, Otto took part in conciliatory negotiations intended to settle disputes between Bohemia and neighboring regions such as Meissen and to address internal noble conflicts. He was frequently present at crucial assemblies and diplomatic missions, reflecting the trust placed in him by noble factions as well as by external mediators like Margrave Jobst of Moravia and other members of the Luxembourg dynasty. By 1399, as tensions and small-scale conflicts conflicts flared in Bohemia, Otto served as a representative on a special 4-member council formed to mediate between the royal party and the League of Lords. That same year, Otto traveled to Buda, inside the Kingdom of Hungary, with influential figures like the Bishop of Olmütz and Margrave Jobst. Together they negotiated with King Sigismund of Luxembourg, Wenceslaus IV's half-brother, to coordinate action against the Margrave Prokop and other political adversaries. Otto's willingness to align himself with Sigismund, Wenceslaus's ambitious and often rivalrous sibling, further demonstrated his strategic political maneuvering. Throughout these tumultuous decades, Otto engaged in complex landholding strategy. Initially secured in North Bohemia with Bilina and other castles, he faced increasing financial pressures due to his deep involvement in political conflicts. He sold or mortgaged properties such as Novi Klumek in 1400 and a mill known as the Austrian Mill in 1401 to finance his undertakings and maintain political influence. By the end of the century, Otto and his son Otto IV, the younger of Bergow, began acquiring significant estates in East and North Bohemia. They obtained Troski Castle before 1399, as well as Ruby Rohozek and Zbirohi, gaining control over important market towns such as Turnov. They also held parts of Jurkov and maintained a fortress along the Sidlina River from 1397 onward. This strategic accumulation and consolidation of estates provided a power base independent of the king's goodwill. When Sigismund briefly took control of Bohemia in 1402 during Wenceslaus's second captivity, Otto seized the opportunity to strengthen his position. He served as sub-chamberlain from 1402 to 1403, a role that allowed him to impose heavy taxes and orchestrate expropriations, including actions against Jewish communities. Contemporary chroniclers noted Otto's role in aiding Sigismund's policies, some of which were described as oppressive or exploitative, leaving a negative impression of Otto among royalists and commoners alike. As Sigismund's influence waned and Wenceslaus IV returned to Bohemia, Otto's fortunes reversed. In 1404, Wenceslaus replaced many officials loyal to Sigismund, and Otto lost his newly gained offices. The move signaled that the king was not prepared to forget Otto's previous betrayals, and that his once lofty position was no longer secure. After this setback, Otto III seems to have receded somewhat from the highest circles of power. Though he remained a figure of note due to his estates and long-standing noble lineage, increasingly, his son Otto IV took on more responsibilities and gained prominence, continuing the Bergow family's involvement in Bohemian noble politics into the Hussite era. Otto IV is recorded as staunchly anti-Hussite, notorious for the sacking of the Abbey of Opatovis. Otto III's exact date of death is not firmly documented. Sources suggest he died sometime before 1415, with one source indicating he passed in 1414. In any case, his death occurred on the cusp of the Hussite revolutions, which began in 1419, a period that would dramatically transform the political, social, and religious landscape of Bohemia. His heirs, John and Otto IV, would survive only a few decades longer, and by 1455 the Bergow family's main Bohemian branch died out. Otto III of Bergow's legacy is that of a powerful nobleman who rose to the highest levels of Bohemian politics during the tumultuous reign of Wenceslaus IV. He navigated complex court intrigues, participated in conspiracies against the king, attempted to secure power through alliances with Sigismund, and oversaw the consolidation and management of significant estates. Although he ultimately fell from favor, his career highlights the fluidity of noble loyalty, the volatility of late medieval Bohemian politics, and the intricate interplay of power between the crown and the nobility in the decades before the Hussite Wars. Otto III of Bergow was a high-ranking Bohemian noble and official who played a decisive role in the kingdom's politics at the close of the 14th century. He served as the highest burgrave of Prague from 1388 to 1393, was an active member of the League of Lords that opposed King Wenceslaus IV, and later held the post of sub-chamberlain under King Sigismund. His political life was marked by shifting allegiances, property transactions, and participation in power struggles that defined the late medieval Bohemian state. His death shortly before 1415 removed him from the stage as one of the era's most complex and controversial noble figures.